So through my buddies and their uncles, we raised enough money to buy a 5-unit apartment building in downtown Baltimore. So while I'm in college, if anybody went to JMU business school, there's this capstone class called COB 300, which is a semester-long class where you have to pick a project and you're assigned with a team of 4, and your whole semester is on this project. This is 2011 for me, and I don't know why, but I convinced my 4 teammates that our project was going to be accumulating a portfolio of student housing.
Awesome.
Because at the time, Harrisonburg, Virginia, William and Mary, like these were kind of fragmented markets. I didn't even know what that word meant at the time, but I just felt like I started to kind of get fascinated through my investing lens with REITs. And I think that was around the time you had like you had some big REITs that my dad was sending me stuff on REITs, and I was like, oh my God, student housing REIT. So my capstone project, and I still have like all the materials for it, which is pretty funny, was a student housing REIT.
That's awesome.
At JMU. Now, I'm bitter because I remember we got like a B- on the project because we got docked for, quote, lack of creativity. So I took that up the flagpole and ended up having like the grade adjusted to like a B+ or something crazy. Right. But at the time, that's where I was kind of like, yeah, well, this isn't the sexy, like people had ideas that made no sense.
Right.
I was like, well, that's the point. This isn't sexy. It's just makes sense. So it started then. And then even in college, I created my first entity. I forget what it was called. We have a spreadsheet somewhere, but there was a couple auctions that came up for townhomes. And I convinced a couple of my buddies. I was like, let's pool some money and let's try and buy some foreclosed townhomes in Fox Hills.
That's awesome.
And because they were kind of a couple foreclosure auctions coming up. This is 2011, 2012. So the fallout is still kind of working its way out of the great financial crisis. We were unsuccessful at that. I mean, I had no idea what we were doing, but we made a little LLC. We called it like Madison Partners.
I was going to ask, did it have the words like universal or worldwide in it anywhere?
It had Madison Partners. Okay. In it. And we didn't like fund the entity, but like I created an LLC to like be ready to try and go to an auction.
Right.
And I showed up in a couple like at the auction steps at the courthouse and just kind of watched. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's a great experience.
And I still joke, if we could have bought a bunch of those townhomes, we probably would have done pretty well with them. Mm-hmm. But that led directly into, so I got a job at Deloitte.
Okay.
Was my first job out of school in the financial advisory practice. So the financial side, not the accounting side. Mm-hmm. There was no question that was just like a temporary place for me to go. Mm-hmm. I'd interned there, had a great time. And it was an Arlington, Virginia-based job. So I was like, all right, we can kind of figure this out. But while I was at Deloitte, we created what became a real thing. I created Valerius Capital Partners, which was some like rabbit hole late night. The Valeria Pubicala was based off like the pseudonyms that the founding fathers used to write the articles of, gosh, I'm blanking on this. The letters that Madison wrote that was the precursors to the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I got my like 6 JMU buddy guys together, and this is while we're all working our first jobs, and we raised like $180,000 from my 4 or 5 buddies, and like my one buddy had 2 rich uncles, and they each gave me like 20 grand. Awesome. So through my buddies and their uncles, we raised enough money to buy a 5-unit apartment building in downtown Baltimore, and it was an absolute circus.
That's okay. So you raise money, I assume, from friends and family, pretty much, right? Like
my dad tells me I'm out of my mind, gives me nothing.
Right.
He's like, Baltimore, you're nuts. Smart. This is stupid. Go work your job.
Why Baltimore? Just the cheapest.
It's funny. We had 2 markets where I knew, for whatever reason, I knew I wanted to skip over the single family thing. I was like, no, I want to get something with units. And that's actually when I met. We were looking only at 2 markets. Richmond,
and
Baltimore. And that's when I met, I could say names, but Tom Rossman. Awesome. And he was like the nicest guy to me because I had no business calling around. But Tom Rossman and some members of his team like would send, like I would reach out to them and like sign the NDA, and I looked at listings. And we actually even bid on a couple smaller little deals in the Fan.
Yep.
And ultimately we got it outpriced. And Baltimore on a per door basis was what we could afford. So I think we bought 5 units for $320,000, I think, We convinced a bank to give us a loan, and like 3 of my buddies and I, we all like personally signed for it.
Right.
I mean, we could talk about that for a while. There's some pretty funny meetings, but this is all I'm working at Deloitte. My one buddy's working at a bank. You know, we're all kind of working our jobs.
Right.
And 2 of us are roommates here in Arlington, Virginia. So we're like doing this. So like in the middle of the night, we're driving up to Baltimore to like clean out units to get ready for our subcontractor.